Hello, boils and ghouls. Irish Blackstone here with another episode of Behind the Keyboard. Today, my guest is Pixie Britton. She's the author of the Kill or Cure series. Enjoy my chat with her. Thank you so much for being here, Pix. I have to admit, I've read the Kill or Cure books and The Last Sacrifice. Basically the first question, why zombies?
Why zombies? Yeah, I mean, I've been a zombie fangirl for as long as I can remember. I kind of grew up really being into the Alien franchise. I probably watched them when I was a little bit too young, but probably shouldn't have watched them. But, you know, my mom was really into like the Alien franchise and Ripley, and my mom's like, I guess like so she's always been into monster horror, and my brother definitely has. So I was kind of brought up around that environment. And I just, yeah, in my teen years, I kind of grew up loving George Romero, watching Dawn of the Dead remake, and just becoming really obsessed with the genre. And even like gaming, I'm quite into gaming as well. And I kind of grew up playing Resident Evil and things like that. So it felt quite natural for me to write the Kill or Cure series. But then again, like a lot of authors, I didn't really set out to write a zombie series. It just kind of happened that way.
Okay. So you started with the Alien franchise and then moved into zombies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of like monsters, zombies. It's all like in the same melting pot in some kind of respect. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, it was just, monsters and zombies is my vibe.
Okay. And I mean, I subscribe to your newsletter, and you always seem to end up talking about The Walking Dead at some point.
Yeah.
In every newsletter, it usually comes up. So you're you're pretty. So
a sore point, Walking Dead, really. But I mean, I imagine I've lost a few subscribers over the year because I'm quite honest in my opinions on The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, no. Like honestly, I'm not a fan of Walking Dead. Honestly, I'm not a fan. I watched the first episode and was bored out of my head.
Oh really?
Yep. I watched then basically the series where Negan was the big bad guy, and I was like,
Yeah.
Never really caught my attention.
No, I really liked it at the beginning. Like the first series for me. I mean, I used to be really into the comics as well, so I read a lot of the comic books first, obviously before the series came out. And yeah, I thought there was Rick waking up in the hospital. For me, all of that was really great. And then as the series kind of went on, it just became like the Negan show. When Negan came in, I mean, I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan as an actor. I think he's great. But it was just like the Negan show. And it was just honestly, they're just washed up tropes used over and over and over again. It became really formulaic. And it was at the end of every season, it was just like, right, well, we've got to kill off someone. So, because that's what we've got to do. And then it just became ridiculous because they were just killing off characters for the sake of it and not even really explaining why, or do you know what I mean? It just became farcical in the end. So for me, I was just like, I cannot keep doing this. Life is too short.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, a lot of my friends they kept me up to date with it, and it got to the point it just sounded like they go to a new place and they end up, staying there. It's all nice and pleasant. Something happens. They blow it up. They move on. They come to a new place. It's there. It's nice. Something goes wrong. They blow it up. It just had this thing of where for me, it was like, okay. And the character of Rick just seemed to be such an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they actually got rid of Rick, at first when I heard about that, I was like, really, can we have The Walking Dead without Rick? And then I watched the season after that and I was like, actually, you know what, this has given airtime to other characters, because it's always been all about Rick, and then it just got to the point where it was just like, I don't know where else they can take his character. It was they'd completely bled it dry. But I think the major problem for me with The Walking Dead is that and I don't know if this is the showrunners or AMC, who dictates the timeline, but for me, it's like they obviously have their release dates twice a year, right? So they have like the October and the February, March, or whatever it is. They release it twice a year, but they're working to these ridiculous deadlines. So it's like the writing suffers, because they're just like, well, we've got to get it done, and then they just smash it out rather than going, right, well, let's think about this character arc. How can this be satisfying? How can we do this in a different way? Okay, we've done this before. They're just trying to smash it out as quickly as possible. And like, for example, I think in real life, Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie, she got like another job or something. So then she had to leave the series. So they just like in one of the episodes, they were just like, well, yeah, Maggie's just left and that's that. And it's just not even explained like in a satisfying way. It was just so
sounds lazy,
because it was just like, if they'd spent more time and they had, they didn't have to rush it, they could weave it into the storyline to fit around her schedule or whatever. So I have a love-hate relationship.
Seems like it's more on the hate side nowadays than the love.
Nowadays it is.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So if you were given the chance to be the showrunner for Walking Dead, what would you do?
Well, I'd go back and just rewrite it and just scrub through black lines. I mean, I think the first few series are quite good for me. Obviously, I know you're not into them, but I think really it's when they got to the prison that was quite good, and it was kind of almost faithful to the comic, and it was just the introduction of Negan. So I mean, now really, I think the series just needs to stop. I think they've now come to for me, it's like there's nowhere else for them to go. Like, what else can they do? So I think if I was going to be doing it, I'd have to go right back to the beginning and rewrite a large portion of what they've already done.
Okay, so you would right the wrongs.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And you said that you're a big the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and you're a big fan of Romero. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the original Dawn of the Dead and the Snyder version, which one do you kind of go, yeah, that's the one I'll go back to more often than not?
Probably, I know that's probably unpopular opinion, but probably the Snyder version, because yes! I think I kind of grew up with that. That was kind of my era. Did I see it at the cinema? I feel like I did. I don't know. What year did it come out? I can't remember.
2004.
Yeah. So I probably would have seen it at the cinema then. So, and I remember that when I saw it at the cinema, I loved it. And then was just, I think that kind of kicked it into gear even more so, because it was like, we hadn't really seen anything like that, or certainly I hadn't. Maybe, obviously, I'm sure there was other films out, but for me, that's what it ignited my obsession a little bit. And even though I'd grown up watching the Romero stuff and watching horror and aliens and all of that kind of stuff, for me that kind of really got me back into the genre, I think. So I'm quite anxious about Army of the Dead and how that's going to be, because I feel like I really, really want it to be good, but there's doubts in the back of my mind.
No, I get that, because I'm a very big Snyder fan. I'm actually for another website, I'm doing a 4-part retrospective on Snyder and his movies.
Right.
And when when they announced Army of the Dead, I kind of went, okay, that great title. Didn't know anything else, and then reading the basic premise, I was like, ooh, okay. And from the the teaser trailer, I was iffy, but when the trailer they released, like I think it was like last week, I was there going, okay, I'm into this, I'm into it, I'm into all this. And then the zombie tiger, I just went, okay, I don't care if the rest of the movie sucks. I'm going to enjoy the zombie tiger.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I was very much with you, because like I saw the first like teaser trailer, and I felt very meh about it. I kind of saw it and I was like, nah, I don't feel anything strongly about it either way. I'm not excited, but I don't hate it. And then I saw the recent one that came out and I was like, okay, now it looks really good. And now I'm really excited. But I mean, I think was it my last newsletter or the one before? I was saying about the thing about this trailer is I have some questions about it. It's like, why have they not, obviously you can see that they've sealed off Vegas. Why have they not just gone full Ripley and just like bombed it from space? You know, like why they, I'm hoping this is going to be explained, right? You know, that it's just like that this will be covered off quickly, and that in this post-apocalyptic world, money still has some kind of value. I mean, obviously, you know, you see Dave Bautista working in a restaurant, so obviously you're assuming that there must be some semblance of normality, but it's just like, why does Vegas, why have they not just gone, okay, well, we're just going to kill them all? Like, you know, for me, that's my biggest question. So,
well, it probably won't be answered in the movie, but it will be answered in the prequel animated series that they're also doing on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's got me excited. You know, it's like, okay, all those questions that will come up in the movie, they will probably answer most of them in the prequel, which I'm kind of like, okay, I'm in, you know, because it's been a while since we've had, you know, that sort of bombastic, over the top, glorious zombie I won't say love affair, but you know.
Yeah, go with it. I'm into it.
but it's like that, you know. You know, the last one, like, you know, same thing. I didn't see Dawn of the Dead at the movies. Actually, that friend of mine who always showed me the movies I shouldn't be watching.
Yes.
He showed it to me and I just went, that's awesome. Saw the original Romero and went, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy Romero's work. You know, City of City of the Dead, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed it. But for some reason, the fast zombies and the more action-orientated version of the zombies from Snyder kind of had me more than the slow lumbering version.
I think it was more relatable. I think having fast zombies in the same way as 28 Days Later kind of really shook things up, you know, that having fast zombies is absolutely freaking terrifying, you know, because for most people it's like slow zombies, like, you know, if you go to the gym, you know, or walk slightly faster, you could get away, you know. So it's like the threat isn't quite as high, but you know, running zombies is terrifying, you know. For me, it's just like, I barely work out, you know, I'd be dead. I'd be one of the first to go.
oh yeah. Nothing wrong with that. At least you know you'll go and then you'll come back and you know you'll be fast.
Yeah, exactly.
The big argument, like a lot of people I know, the big argument they have about, you know, slow zombies being better than fast zombies is, yeah, fast zombies, they're fast, they can catch you quicker. But the thing about slow zombies is it's a wave that will never stop.
Yeah.
To which I kind of go, yeah, I get that. But the immediate threat is scarier than, you know, a Walking Dead, you know, what was it, like 25,000 series that done on Walking Dead, something like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's the mass, isn't it? The mass horde. That's when it becomes really daunting and terrifying. But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited. Let's see. I mean, when's it out? Next Friday?
May 21.
Okay.
So it's not this Friday, it's the following.
Yeah, cool. Wow. Well, we'll have to touch base and compare notes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sitting there just with the biggest, dumbest grin on my face because, you know, I'm all for social commentary with zombies. I'm all for that, but just every once in a while, I just want dumb action where a bunch of tough guys come in and they blow the crap out of zombies. That's all I want.
Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah. So, you know, we've in your last newsletter, you made, you know, you started talking about the next books, the next series that you're doing, which is more, it seems like completely post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
You know, where'd that come from? How is it going, and when can we expect it?
Oh, big questions. Well, yeah, this is more, I guess, post-apocalyptic dystopia. And and I've taken some inspiration from things that are happening around the world right now. So, you know, I'm plant-based, into my saving the animals, environmentalism, and all that kind of thing. So, you know, I wanted to include those kinds of things because it just interests me. So it's something that I always think about as an author, like what would the world be like if actually, you know, the world, it became really hot and greenhouse, you know, the global warming and things like that. How would that landscape look like for us? And, you know, our terrible governments and things like that. And so the stories that you're hearing in the news going around the world that sometimes just leave me slack-jawed in horror, and me kind of taking some of those elements and bringing them together into something that I think will be accessible. And yeah, just, I mean, I love writing, you know, big stories, big characters, all the feels, you know, I want to make people cry, you know, that's my vibe. So I wanted to kind of step away from zombies slightly because I don't want to pigeonhole myself as just a pure zombie author, because, you know, that's not just what I'm about. I like other things as well. So it felt right that I would kind of, within the same parameters, I guess, but just like diversify a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. And are you like, you know, going to do like your, you know, the Pixie Britton universe where Kill and Cure is going to be slightly related? There will be some crossover or a reference, something like that, like with the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
No, this is a whole new world, whole new separate set of characters. I mean, I have an idea for a winter story that I started, and I got about 30 odd thousand words down into that. And then it just became really challenging for me because Winter, obviously, if you haven't, you know, you're watching this, you haven't read the Kill or Cure series, Winter, one of the main characters who's a fan favorite, is deaf. So writing from the perspective, or well, actually in this book, I started writing third person. So to make it a little bit easier on myself, because I prefer reading and writing in first person. So I was like, writing in first person as a deaf person is going to be really difficult. So I started writing it in third, but it got to that stage where I was just getting, you know, writer's block after writer's block. And I think I've been living and breathing the whole series for so long. I'm quite a slow writer as well. I'm not someone that just smashes books out. I just felt like I needed to move on and do something else and then pick this up again once I could have a fresh perspective on it, because I just got to a stage where I was like, I can't really see where this is going. The pace was slowing down and I just needed to do something new. So I think it's not necessarily the end of the Kill or Cure series. You know, I think the main series is done, but I think there's definitely spin-offs and things like that I'm still percolating in the back of my mind. But for now, I'm just going to focus on the new series for now.
Okay. And when can we expect the first book in the new series?
Well, I mean, I would like to say at the end of this summer, but that depends whether I can keep the momentum that I'm at the moment. I don't know what you're like, but I mean, I kind of go through peaks and troughs of writing. So sometimes I'll be really, you know, hitting the word count, really motivated, and will smash it out. And then other times it's like pulling teeth. So, and I'm kind of somewhere between a plotter and a pantser. So I do plot a little bit, but I invariably end up going completely off plan and just pantsing my way through it. So yeah, I'm going to go for end of summer. So maybe, I guess, September, October. Well, I guess that's fall, isn't it? So yeah.
Okay, like cool. That. Oh yeah. And I mean, I can, like, if I don't, you know, if I have a deadline coming up fast, I can do like 3,000, you know, 4,000 words per day, no problem. Generally it's about 2. And yeah, some days it's like, yeah, real easy to get the words out. And other days it's just, oh, kill me.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So So you said that with the winter book, you're you're hitting writer's block and all that sort of stuff. How do you deal with writer's block?
Yeah, I'm not very good at dealing with it. I'm one of those people that invariably, when I have writer's block, I don't really know that I have it. It's a really, I think people deal with it or perceive it in different ways. But for me, it's kind of like I just get brain fog, like a brain fog will come over me. I'll feel really tired. I'll feel a little bit perhaps unmotivated. And it won't be that I'm like, oh, I can't think of the solution to this problem, or I get to a certain point in the story where I'm like, I can't see how to get out of this or whatever. It's just like this fog that comes over me. And then my motivation goes down and then I stop and then I get frustrated because I'm like, I want to write, but I'm not writing. Why am I not writing? And it's like, oh, right, because you have writer's block. And and I think then when I realized that I do, for me, the way that I get out of writer's block is to literally go back to my whiteboard. So I've got a big, you can't see it obviously in here, but I've got a big whiteboard on one of my walls, and I just literally, I stand there and I'll just go back to bare bones of what character arcs, and just start with I put some music on and I'll just start scribbling ideas down and where I think it's going. And then normally that's the thing that will kickstart it again and I can get back into the rhythm.
Okay.
How about you? How do you deal? Are you similar or something totally different?
When I for me, writer's block really comes when I'm outlining. And the way I outline is I'll just do, maybe 1 or 2 sentences per chapter, just about, okay, this is the big thing that needs to happen. And that's it. And then when I'm actually writing, it's more pantsing for the actual writing part. But my outlines lately, it's about 10 different outlines before I get to the point where I'm like, that's a story and I can write it. And the only way I can, I get through it is I used to listen to music, and now I just make a playlist of movies that have a similar feel. So right now I'm starting a creature feature story. So I'm going through all, I'm just got my playlist of creature feature movies, like The Mummy Returns, Deep Rising, The Meg, all that sort of, fun stuff. And I've just got to get, once I hit that point where, yep, I'm happy, then it's good to go. As far as actual writing goes, when I get writer's block, then it's more, I'm bored with the story. Writer's block for me is just, I become bored.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
That's the worst thing. Worst thing for me is being bored with what I'm writing, because I know if I'm bored, whoever reads it, they're going to be bored as well.
Yeah.
And, I kind of subscribe to that Sam Raimi quote where he says, the worst thing ever is, the worst thing for a director is to make a boring movie. The worst thing for an author is to write a boring book.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't agree more. Yeah. I mean, as an author now, I don't know what you're like, but my attention span is like, I have the attention span of a peanut when I pick up a book. Like, I have to, unless I love it within the first like 4 or 5 chapters, I just don't have the patience to keep reading. And whereas before I really got into my writing, I would perhaps been a little bit more, oh, okay, well, I'll just keep going and see how it goes. And now I'm just like, you're too critical, aren't you? It's like you can't, once you write your own novel, you become, it takes away some of the enjoyment in some respects,
Oh yeah, definitely. Luckily I don't get that as much with novels. I get it with movies, because back in Australia I went to film school, so I'm ultra critical of movies more so than books. I can pick up a book, audio book, or anything, and read it and go, that was good for these reasons, or well, that was terrible for these reasons. And as far as grammar, like I know some authors who will tear a book apart for grammar, and I just go, don't care, because I know my books have problems. There's always those typos or really strangely worded sentences that slip through.
Yeah, it's just part of it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. So what's your favorite part of like the whole thing of being an author? You know, what's your favorite part of that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question, really, because I think for me, when I'm writing and I'm in the flow and, I can just feel the story pouring out of me, it just sets my soul on fire, and I'm just like living it, and I'm just living and breathing it. And that's when I'm like, yes, I love what I do. So in terms of like the writing piece, I've got that, but then the other piece is actually I do a lot of comic book conventions. So I go to Comic-Con in London, and I love doing all of that because I'm really nerdy, so I love going to comic book conventions and just nerding out myself. But then it's also having that interaction with my readers. I love building relationships with my readers and chatting to them. They're probably one of my biggest distractions because I literally respond to everyone. I talk to everyone, when I probably should be working. And, I like helping out other authors and doing that. So I love the social aspect of being an author as well. So I'm really excited to be back at Comic-Con in July as well.
Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. And like, I totally get that, the thing about the creating, when you're actually writing and it's flowing. Yeah. With me though, it's the fact that I can sit there and, the last book I wrote, which a publisher has picked up to publish, it's called, oh, that's great. It's called Zombie Nazis on a Train.
Oh, nice.
Okay. See, this is what I love, being able to sit there and go, I want to write a book about zombies, Nazis, and I want to put it on a train and just have that moment of, that title pop in my head. I start to giggle. And now everyone I've told has had that exact same reaction you did, where it's that pause of, wait, did I hear that correctly? And then, oh, that's so cool.
I mean, it says exactly, it's like, what more could you want in a book?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's just being able to sit there and go, yeah, I'm just going to write this book that is just balls to the walls, like 80s action horror.
Nice.
And then tell people about it and just have people go, oh, I want to read that. That is so awesome. It's just that, and hopefully getting paid for it.
Yeah, the dream.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so if that's the stuff you like the most, what's the thing that you hate the most?
Editing. Oh, editing makes me die inside, honestly. I don't know about you, but I get really obsessive, because I want my books to be really good. And I want, particularly when I released my first book, so the first book in the Kill or Cure series, I released that. The anxiety of bringing it out is the kind of, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself out there, Then when you get to the second book or the third book in your series, it's like, okay, well, all of these people love it. And now I've got to continue making it satisfying. I've got to continue the journey for them. So it's like putting yourself out there plus making the book good, so you have different pressures when it comes to putting it out. So when it comes to editing, I really obsess, like not only just over the plot, but just like, oh, does the flow of this sentence sounds right? Or could I use a different word? Or, and it just drives me mad to the point where I'm like, if I never read this book again, it would be too soon.
Okay.
It's like I've read it a gazillion times now. It's like I'm never reading this ever again.
I kind of get that. I hate editing, but as I said, so let me ask you this. Do you suffer from that thing? A lot of authors have that internal editor. Like when you're actually writing, do you have that internal editor constantly telling you to make it perfect?
Yes and no. It depends if I'm really in the flow and I'm loving it, then no, because I will just go, it's like I can't even stop it. It's just like the words are pouring out of me and I'm just running with it and just enjoying it. Other times when I'm slower and perhaps the flow isn't there, then I have a tendency to go back and reread a bit and go and then obsess. I don't really obsess about it too much, but I'll be like, okay, so why isn't this working? Is this holding me back? And doing all of that. I know that's really bad. So I'm kind of trying to stop myself from doing that. So I'm just like, have to mentally go, okay, I know this isn't perfect. I'm going to let it go because I can fix it later. And I'm really trying to do that with this new series, because I know, for example, one of the earlier chapters, which I had to rewrite twice, I now have to rewrite again. But I'm like, I'm going to go back and do that later. I was like, if I go back and do that now, I'm just never going to finish this bloody book. So I need to just let it go, make some notes, know that I've got to change it and just finish it later, because I just need to keep the momentum.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm different. For me, my internal editor comes up when I'm outlining. That's why my outlines take so long to do, because that's where it's like, and just focusing just solely on the story. And then when I'm editing, it's more, okay, wait, what does that sentence mean?
Yeah.
Why is there like 12 words missing from this? What the hell? That's when that's what happens. I just sit there and go, this is shit. And it's not the story, because the story is happy. I'm great. I'm happy with my story. I'm happy with everything. It's just when it comes to the sentence structure and all that stuff. That's why I sit there and go, did a retard write this?
The flow is off and you're like, hang on, what was I actually trying to say now? It's just, yeah.
Yep. And the only time I kind of really, when that never comes up, is action. When it comes to writing action, I'm just like, yep, get it, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all the character moments I have trouble with.
Yeah. For me, it's more world building. It's because I want to get all the little details just right, but I don't want it to slow pace. Like for me, I quite like fast pace, and as a reader, I like to be able to kind of imagine some of the details myself. I don't like to be spoon-fed. I'm not really into, some like ultra sci-fi books where it's just like so much detail. I'm just like, I can't be dealing with all this. Like, what? Give me some action.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the bit. I think that's one of the big discussions with among authors. I know I've had it with others. I don't know if you've ever had this discussion. How much character description do you give?
Yeah, I mean, I quite like it. I quite like giving character description because I think I like to include the little nuances and reactions to different things. I'm really good friends with one of my an author friend who I work very closely with, and he is a script writer. So he writes scripts and he works at the BBC, and he's like done all these amazing things, but he's a script writer first and then a novelist second.
Right.
So a lot of his stuff is very boom, 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 where he kind of slips into almost like he's writing a script. And I just edited his manuscript last week. And I'm like, okay, I really wanted to delve into how what's this character feeling? And I need to understand what they look like more, because I'm a very visual person when it comes to characters. I want to know what their faces look like. I want to be there and witness it. And I know some people are less into that.
Yeah, well, I kind of go, okay, I'll give one or two big details as far as the character goes, and then that will be it. For example, with Zombie Nazis on the Train, the leader of our heroes, basically, he has, long hair and this big thing of beard where you don't really see much of his face. It's just this, he looks like a bear trying to be a man kind of thing.
Wow.
It's just that one bit of really great description. And then everything else comes from how he talks and how he reacts to things. Because I find if I, like as a reader myself, I prefer to get maybe that sort of thing, one or two really good bits of description, and then I can just put the rest in.
Yeah.
And then the only time I'll go all out with my descriptions is just for the action and for the violence and all the gruesome, horrific stuff.
Give me more, all the gore.
Basically, yeah. I as far as my horror goes, I work under the assumption of some is good, more is better, all of it is fantastic.
Love it.
Yeah, is that Stuart Gordon idea of, there's no such thing as less.
Love it.
Yeah. So you said that you help out other authors, and you do, I know you're on the Reanimated Authors Facebook group and all that. That's actually how I heard about you. How important is it for you to have that community, your tribe, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I think it's so important, because being an author can be quite a lonely existence, right? You're sat in your office, you're building these stories. It can, it's a lot of up and downs, it's really tough nut to crack, right? For so many reasons, not just actually writing the book, but all the other crap that readers don't really realize, the marketing, the Facebook ads, the trying to get a BookBub deal, all of these things, and all the different nuances that goes on behind the scenes of being an author that can be really isolating. And I think I feel like I like to have some very like I've got like a mastermind group of authors that there's like, I think there's like 6 of us, and we just have a closed group, and we do lots of networking, and we do like a Skype call once a month where we share kind of what we've discovered that month. So we're always kind of keeping each other up to date. But then I'm also in these huge groups as well, the self-publishing formula with Mark Dawson and all of that kind of things, and 50 books, was it 20 books to 50K? And I do dip in and out of those Facebook groups, but at the same time I can sometimes find this to be counterproductive, because I think that they can become really daunting as well, because you can see, and I think it's really bad for imposter syndrome, because if you're seeing these authors that are absolutely nailing it, they're like, yeah, look, I've just made all this cash, with all of these sales, and I'm like, well, I'm struggling this month, and I'm gonna struggle to make my mortgage payment, and my book is good, and I think I'm an okay writer, so why isn't this working for me? I'm doing all of the things, I've done all the courses, why am I not a success? And it's, you don't know how long they've been doing it for. You don't know, they're writing a different genre, all of these things that that goes along with imposter syndrome. So I dip in and out of those Facebook groups to kind of keep up to date with different things and bits and pieces that are going on, but I don't spend time in there. I built a little tribe of authors that I kind of get on with on a personal level, people that I would go down the pub with, and then we chat and we network and do all of that, because I think for me personally that works better, having those kind of one-on-one relationships rather than just trying to make noise in a massive void of other authors.
Totally agree there. I mean, I'm 20 books to 50K, which that's sometimes I just look there and go, why am I even a part of this group?
Am I an author? What am I doing? I've got no idea what I'm doing,
Oh yeah.
And it becomes counterproductive, doesn't it? So.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been publishing since 2018, and I'm still, like I'm nowhere near being, like not a best-selling author or anything like that. And I still have that thing of, certain people, talking to my author friends, and it's like, they say all this stuff. I'm just sitting there going, you're talking about me? No. You must be talking about some other guy with the same name who writes the same stuff, And I'm waiting for one day the author police to show up and say, sorry, no, not you.
You're rubbish, get out.
Yeah.
I know, it's the story of my life, but it's something I'm working on, and I think even when I don't know, obviously I listen to a lot of Mark Dawson's podcasts, and he seems pretty sure of himself a lot of the time, so I imagine he's so freaking successful that I imagine that he's just got it nailed, so he doesn't really have identity crisis like perhaps me and you do. But yeah, I mean, a part of me is like, I always have this, well, at what point will I feel like an author? And it's like, well, I've done a series, I've got readers, I have fans, like, so at what point do I earn that badge of honor, and I don't know if I ever will. I don't know. Maybe if it gets turned into a film, maybe then I'll feel like an author.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Like, that was going to be the thing, is that, like, for you, do you want to be able to say, like, one of my books movie or it's been a TV show that AMC screwed up. I mean,
I mean, for me, that would be like, because I'm a film nerd, like you. We're both film nerds, right?
Oh yeah, well,
so,
just looking at the posters behind you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's pretty indicative of what I'm like, So for me, that would be like the ultimate dream come true, But I know as well that it's so unbelievably unattainable as well, because if you think really of how many books there are out there, how many authors are lucky enough to actually get their stuff made into film, it's unbelievably unlikely. But I think it's nice to have that goal. And I always like to try and think of different ways to try and make, to make it accessible. Like I've got, my book trailers and things like that. And my brother is an animator, and we've talked about doing an animation series where I'm going to write it, he's going to design it, and so I'm going to, I'm trying to think of new ways to kind of put myself out there creatively, not just in books, but podcasts and audiobooks and animation and doing all of those things. So yeah, I'm, chances of there being a kill or kill blockbuster is unbelievably slim, but I'm just gonna put myself out there and keep creating, because
oh, that's it. I mean, would you rather be doing anything else?
No.
That's it.
I did that for 12 years. It was like my soul died, I think. So yeah, definitely not. I think this is the best job for me in the world, and I'm sure you'll agree. But yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there are there are some people who, for them, writing a book is like, okay, it's a hobby. It's just something I'm going to do, and I'll put it out there, and that way, I've done it. And great, good for them. Honestly.
Yeah.
For me, it's this. My dad, he was a teacher for almost 30 years. He's a magician. He was a stage actor in Australia, all this stuff. And he looked at me and said, yeah, you don't have that mentality to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're a creative person. This is it,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just think, but then also at the same time, I see a lot of these authors that, when I was working full time in London and I was still writing, I was just like, a woman possessed trying to get it, because I was working a 9 till 5, and then my writing hours were really small. So I was, I was writing on the train and come home, and then I'd write to really late at night. Now that I'm freelance, I do like a freelance creative. I do design, I do podcast editing, copy editing. I do all kinds of things, all kinds of random things. And that's now, I created my own business. It means that now I'm not hustling quite as hard as I have been over the years. And I'm okay with that. I'm kind of, I've got my life back a little bit. It's like now I can actually see my family and not be like, my family be like, oh, well, we're doing a Sunday dinner. Do you want to come over? And me being like, no, I can't, because I've got to work.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, and you see those authors that are like, yeah, I've written a novel this month, 80,000 words in 1 month. I'm just like, I don't want to do that. It's like, that's not for me. Like I did that for a long time, and now I'm very much ready to have a work-life balance. I think it's important.
Well, that was going to be it. That was going to be my next question I was going to ask, because you look at 20 books to 50K, everyone's there saying, oh yeah, 80,000 words in a month and all that. And I kind of go, well, I can do 60 in a month, relatively easy. I'm burnt out after that. For me, 2 months, that's how long it takes me to write a book that I'm happy with. Just give me 2 months for just the writing part. So that work-life balance for you, it's ultra important. So if you had to, what's your secret for getting that?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously, for me personally, in my circumstance, I've managed to create a business whereby, I have the flexibility to write pretty much whenever I want, because I'm my own boss, because I'm freelance, because I'm not going into an office and doing a regular job. I can pretty much work to my own time frame. But if you do have another job, you're kind of determined on how much time that you've got, right? If you're kind of doing a 9 till 5 and then coming home in the evening, it's hard to do both and juggle those things. But I think it is important to have work-life balance. It is important to get out and, I really got into walking recently because, in the UK, with COVID and everything and lockdown, all the shops were shut, all the restaurants were shut. No households were allowed to mix. It was just like, and then me being at home by myself, I was just like, I feel like I'm going freaking mad at home, just rattling around my house. So I think it's really important just for your mental health, just to get out in nature, go for a walk, and just have time to yourself, because your writing will benefit as a result.
Okay, that's good. That's good advice. That's really good.
Get out in nature, you won't regret it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Coming from Australia, we're surrounded by nature, so I totally get that. And living in Mexico City is great. Not enough nature.
Yeah, but you're going back to Australia soon, though, right?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I fly out May 20.
Right. Okay. Wow. So amazing.
So yeah, I've got to wait until I'm in the hotel for hotel quarantine to watch Army of the Dead.
Oh no!
I know. That's the one. They were like, oh, can I reschedule just so I can watch that on the same day it comes out? And I was like, no, it's better to do it. Better to do it all.
Yeah, but that's, in some respects, that's quite nice. At least, being in quarantine in a hotel is pretty grim, but at least you've got something to look forward to. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll be able to write and all this sort of stuff, and count how many tiles there are in the bathroom, things like that. So, what is it about horror that makes it fun for you to write?
I like to be scared. I like to feel something. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm quite weird about horror, right? Because I really like monsters and zombies and apocalypse, but when it comes to like paranormal activity and things like that, I'm a total marshmallow. Like I can't, I can't watch it. Like I'll be lying in bed just like this, like, oh no. The thing is that I don't even really know that I believe in ghosts. Like, I don't know, but it's something about it that terrifies me. So I could never, so I'm less into that, and I'm more into the monster gore factor. I don't know. Is that weird? I feel like that's weird.
No, that's not weird. I mean, it takes all sorts to move the world. So,
Yeah, I just can't like anything, anything ghosty, Exorcist is all right. I think, it's not too bad, but it's just certain that I'd just be like, no, I couldn't watch that. Like, I remember watching Blair Witch Project, like, and that was terrifying. Like, I thought that was just like, it terrified me, but I loved it because I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and they'd done it so well, and they brought it out at a time, and how they marketed it. It's just genius how they did it all. And I think that's really underrated. I mean, now if you rewatched it now, it'd probably be terrible. But I remember watching it when it came out and being like, this is brilliant. So yeah.
No, I get that. I don't think you're weird because, the 1990 miniseries version of It, first time I saw that, it scared me that much. I had to watch RoboCop. because there's no violence, because there's no blood and guts. My overactive imagination ran wild with what Pennywise did to the kids.
Yeah.
So I needed to see some actual blood and guts. So I watched the director's cut of, RoboCop, which that helped. But for 2 weeks after, it rained every day for 2 weeks after I watched it.
Oh.
So that was it. No, I didn't want to go anywhere near a drain. I didn't want to go out. It was just, it scarred me. I was 15 years old when I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's why when I write my horror, it's more visceral. It's more just blood, guts, all in your face. Let's splatter the page.
Yeah. I remember watching It as well. I think that was for me, that was the It and Shining, the two films when I was growing up. Probably shouldn't have watched it quite at the age when I did. I think I would probably watched It when I was, I don't know, I can't remember. I was probably younger than 14. I might have been 13 or
Ooh.
12 or something, and it was terrible. I mean, my brother, he was such a jerk. He would just make me be like, come and watch this, it's gonna be really great, and me just being like, okay.
That's
And
the
then
perfect sibling.
watching it and not being able to sleep for like a month after watching it.
That's the perfect sibling right there, because it was my parents who told me we're going to watch this. They showed me the cover and it was the old DVD cover where you see, Pennywise is tearing the cover off and he's got, and Tim Curry's face and all that. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And my parents were like, yeah, you're going to love this. You're going to be fine. And my reaction, they're laughing hysterically at this. They thought my reaction to it was brilliant, and that's the sort of parents you want.
I know, right? I mean, mine were the same. It's terrible, really. I mean, by today's standards, you'd just be like thrown in jail. But apparently, back in the 90s, it was acceptable. So.
It was encouraged. Okay, so the last question I want to ask is, someone comes up to you and they say, look, Pixie, you've inspired me to write a book. I want to follow in your footsteps. What's the one piece of advice you give them?
See, I started my author journey on Wattpad. So I don't know if you know much about Wattpad, but so I started it on there. And I think that Wattpad's got a bit of a bad rep these days. But you know what? I think actually if you're starting out and you want to put yourself out there, but you're not quite ready to leap into the world of KDP and Amazon and self-publishing and all of that, Wattpad is an amazing place to start. Obviously, it depends what genre you're writing. If you're writing, reverse harem, something ultra, pornographic, perhaps not Wattpad, but if you're kind of, it's got a big horror following on Wattpad, if you write zombie or anything like that. Definitely YA, so if you write any YA, sci-fi, all of that kind of stuff, and get it, and you're starting out, have a go on Wattpad, because you can put it out there. The people that read it, it's like this amazing community where you can get feedback. People are not going to crush your dreams, because everyone's learning. You're all on a relatively level playing field, and it's a great place to meet other authors, but also to learn your craft and to really get to grips with your voice as an author. And one of the best ways to do that on Wattpad is to go into the book clubs. So if you join a book club with a whole bunch of other authors, each week you get given another partner. So you basically review each other's books, and they'll kind of give you some structured feedback, and then you give them structured feedback on their books. And it's normally only like 3 or 4 chapters or something, so it's not like massive amounts of reviewing an entire book or something. But it's just to get a general idea of how things are going. For me, when I put mine on there, my book got picked up by the HQ guys. So they started to promote my book on the front page of their website. And I got 100,000 reads in 5 months on Wattpad. So for me, at that stage, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I can do this. Maybe this isn't just some pipe dream, that maybe I do have some kind of like a shred of talent, maybe. Still working on that imposter syndrome. But so I think Wattpad is a great place to start, and just put yourself out there and see what happens. Because I truly believe if you're one of those people that has a story in you, just do it. You won't regret it, because you can always just sit there and be like, oh, I wish I'd written that story. I wish I'd done that. Life is too short. Just go for it.
That's it. Life is too short.
Very much so, especially with all the crazy stuff that's been going on in the last year. I mean, I never thought I'd be, well, maybe I did, I don't know, as a post-apocalyptic author, imagined various scenarios like this, perhaps a little bit disappointing that it wasn't quite as post-apocalyptic, but we've still got time.
Yeah. The year's not over yet.
not yet. A lot can happen. Yeah, but I think just get yourself out there and see what happens. And just also accept that the first draft, you know, honestly, if I look back at the first draft of Kill or Cure, it's painful garbage, you know, that should never see the light of day. And just accept that when you start out, you're not going to be Stephen King right out of the gate. You know, it takes time. You know, even me looking back at, you know, the first now at Kill or Cure and looking at Oblivion and looking at my personal development, I can see the difference, you know, in my style and things. So we're constantly learning, and just accept that you're probably going to suck a bit, and that's all right. That's also okay.
No, that's, you know, that you should put that on a t-shirt. You know, you're going to suck a bit, but it's okay. Oh, okay. You froze for a second.
I'm back.
Ooh, technology, isn't it wonderful?
No, I know. It was just like literally dying on me. So yeah, I'm back.
It's okay. So the millions of people who are going to be watching this, you know, because that's
so big.
Yeah, that's right. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, not really on Twitter. I have Twitter profile, but you know, yeah. And I have my own website, so www.pixiebritton.com. So you can obviously reach out to me on there. Yeah, and as I said before, I will chat to everyone. So probably when I shouldn't. So just message me. I would love to hear from you.
I'll put the links to everything in the description. Pixie Britton, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
And once again, a very big thank you to Pixie for being on the show today. You can find links to her work in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. And if there's any authors that you'd like to see me have a chat with, please feel free to put their names in the comments below. And as always, stay spooky.